Hello YouTube and welcome back to another episode of VCT Pacific Scoped In. My name is William Cho, one of the casters and analysts here at VCT Pacific in Korea, and we are now looking at our kind of last episode of Pacific specifically before we move into VCT Masters Tokyo. And of course, kind of saving the best for last is going to be a look at the inaugural champions of VCT Pacific, PRX. Now, of course, they've always been known for WGaming, but I really like to think they've fully evolved into kind of WGaming 3.0, right? I like to think the 2.0 version was after Jing entered, and then kind of their run at Masters Copenhagen was really when 2.0 came to life. And then they had a little bit of struggles adjusting to the meta and figured out their own styles, etc. But now with the addition of something into the starting roster, they fully evolved. Now I know there's been the news that something may not be able to, compete at Tokyo or maybe the first matches for PRX, etc. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, I think it's still worth taking a look at how they've evolved, because I don't think it's simply something's firepower, which is tremendous, but with the addition of that, it seems that PRX has kind of regained an understanding of how they want to play each map control, positioning, a little bit more discipline as well. But then also, they figured out their own style within the current meta. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons they won the very first season of VCT Pacific. If you actually take a look, PRX had some of the fewest kind of compositional changes, especially going from regular season into the playoffs for VCT Pacific. And one of the notable things is, of course, they kind of stuck with their own Phoenix comp on Pearl, and they continue to make it work. Things like that, right? They showcased the Reyna on Bind right before playoffs, and they continue to bring it out against DRX in the playoffs. Still made it work. So they clearly have their own understanding of how they want to play out this meta, and it served them well. So let's dive right in. The very first topic I want to talk about is the value of a good lurk. We talked about this during the T1 episode 2 episodes ago, and how a good lurk can really help open up the map, give you a better understanding of what you're working with, and also kind of give you this extra insurance. This is one of the reasons I thought that PRX last year made such a good run at Masters Copenhagen, was Mindfreak was one of those controllers who was able to continue to really dig deep into enemy territory and open up the map for his team. In fact, the very first clip we look at, Mindfreak is at it again. So let's take a look. We are on round 5. PRX on defense. They pushed out early, right off the bat with the showstopper over on B tree. They've already pushed all the way out, and they have forces ready to pinch on the south side from A halls as well. So the entire north side of the map has been disregarded by PRX. Sorry for the overlap with Neon's fingers there on the coloring. This was not the frame I originally wanted to stop on. But anyway, DRX, they start on the north side, and they realize, okay, no one's here, so they're going to just go ahead and get their execute going towards the B site. Now, if you look at the mini-map, we see that because of the noise being made over from Arcade, we've got 2 members and something of Forsaken. They come back, see if they can get any early picks. It gets smoked off by safety from Mako, and PRX just says, okay, we just want to make sure we're still holding on to this part of the map, right? We got this control. We don't want to let it go. So they want to hold on to tree, and meanwhile, they want to really make sure that they've cleared out the entire south side of the map. So they get their pinch going from A hall, and immediately as Devi and Jing secure that this whole south side is clear, Mindfreak says, great. Now that we have this part control, and technically we could go back through sewers all the way to Arcade if we so choose, now the other danger is, if DRX is a smart team, they might have said, okay, how do we get our post-plant position safe? We got to dig deep into enemy territory. That's how we keep control of a crossfire. So Mindfreak says, I'll go ahead and either put pressure or gain info, whatever it might be. So he's going to slowly inch forward. He gets the first peek. Meanwhile, already Forsaken is going through sewers. He does get shut down by Buzz, but Jing's going to push him out. Meanwhile, because of this chaos, because they realize this chaos is happening and they realize Buzz is in sewers trying to compete for sewers, Mindfreak says, okay, if they're trying to fight for sewers, there is a good chance that I can continue to push up from our spawn. He's still taking it slow, though, communicating with the team. Meanwhile, something's not pushing up. And now with their own lockdown, they are able to say, okay, this entire area from generators is clear. Sure, the Orbital Command takes care of the lockdown, but we held half of sewers control. We held tree control. So everyone on the side of DRX, they've got to be pushed towards the north side. Now, one thing we wanted to keep a note of, Stax has his Rolling Thunder ready, okay? So while the lockdown gets destroyed, the Rolling Thunder available, PRX is going to push up close. But keep note that only 2 people entered. Devi is still holding tree. He still has the alarm bot in sewers. He knows that they've given up sewers control pretty much. So he's hanging back. And then Mind Freak's available to check for anyone pushing out of arcade off of this Rolling Thunder. And what this allows is as soon as RB tries to swing out on the Rolling Thunder and something's been knocked back, he hasn't regained his aim yet, Mind Freak is ready for the crossfire, right? He's able to keep his eyes both sides here. Mako is in sewers, so he's not going to run into Mind Freak anytime soon. Mind Freak gets an immediate kill. And that allows both members to stay alive on the site, keep control of it, while Devi still holds control of tree. And just the fact that Mind Freak is available there to watch allows them to go for this kind of just push against the Rolling Thunder. We have crossfires available on our side. This next clip, it's not going to be Mind Freak, but it still shows the value of a good lurk. And this is perhaps one of the strengths of the new roster of PRX, or with the addition of something. It's not a brand new roster. It's really just something coming in for Benkai. But Forsaken now oftentimes plays these roles of second controller or sentinel where he can go on these lurks, and he provides so much value. Not only is he a great fragger, so he can win a lot of these duels, but he's got really good game sense. So once again, let's take a look. We are in round 3 on Ascent, which was map 2. PRX on the attack. Clearly they're vying for control over by a main, and if you look at something in Forsaken, both of them are putting pressure on other parts of the map. Initially, we do see the Cascade being pushed out so that something can go in. He's already used one Leer to just check for B main. And then Forsaken's starting to put pressure in mid. He's going to take out the Recon Bolt that was just there on the map. And he starts to inch forward off the back of the Guiding Light. Cascade pushes forward so he can get into the cubby here in mid. And then he just continues to push out because the Leer was being put out just then by something. Now, something's already turned around. His only job was to put the Leer to draw out pressure so that Forsaken can move forward. What this allows Forsaken to do, we're going to see here in a second, is he's able to peek into market and either find a kill or whatever else information. And he actually does get good information because he's going to find the turret. And so he takes out the turret, and now he's put it on enough pressure on mid where he can just hide out and see if anyone comes back out. You know, do we see something of the drone coming out? Do we see someone pushing out, etc.? DRX responds in turn. They send Zest out all the way to chase to see if B main truly is a force. It's not. They realize this, so Paranoia gets used early just to buy some time, and DRX is going to do their best. They close the door to hold on to the site, 0 point to buy more time as well. And during all of this, Forsaken has crept up further into market. Now, as the execute happens, we're going to see an unfortunate timing here from Mako as the smoke just comes back up, and he will get taken down. And that's part of the reason this execute gets a little bit easier. But Forsaken's timing is very good. He's waiting to watch for anyone from market, right? And potentially pushing into mid. But as soon as they get the first kill, as soon as the door breaks, he starts to swing forward. And he says, this is my timing, because as soon as there's contact, movement will probably be made. And he's correct. We see RB, while he's still trying to keep an eye on mid, he is starting to rotate over. Zest is starting to move forward. So instead of just getting caught in between and trying to, you know, really backstab someone in the ultimate way, Forsaken starts to reposition, gets through the toxic screen. Zest does not find him, as the toxic screen does go down and Mind Freak dies, but the timing just works out for him. And then Forsaken is going to continue to get right behind, and RB has no idea because the site's been broken open by something. But just this understanding of as soon as the contact happens is when movement needs to begin for the opponents. Otherwise, they will be at a disadvantage because we've got 4 people there already for the execute. Really good timing read from Forsaken, and it all helps because he was starting to really set up on this area and this area with the help of something's Leer towards B site. Now we're going to take a look at a couple of clips that just show a better understanding of how PRX likes to look at map control, how well they're keeping track of their own map awareness and things like that. Not always reliant on lurks. Again, good lurks are great, but you can't always rely on the lurk because then it becomes very one-dimensional. So, a couple different varieties, but first, let's return to Fracture. We're looking at round 10. PRX continues to be on the defensive side. Mind you, they do eventually lose this map, but what we're going to see here is that Devi has his lockdown, but he's just going to be on his own island over on A, setting up, you know, just to buy some time, right? He's trying to just make sure that he has a way out either towards Sands or Hall or even to their spawn, just trying to get information. Even Hall and main, he's trying to get information through the turret. And meanwhile, we take a look at the fact that there's a Rolling Thunder available for stacks on the attacking side. So PRX, we see them, you know, vying for a little bit of control towards Tree, right? See if there's any sort of rush here coming in. But on top of that, we're going to see a bit of a set play here to really gain control of sewers and basically erase B site as an entirety. So instead of north and south side of the map on Fracture, which is usually the go-to, what they will do is they are going to go ahead and put pressure on with something's abilities, right? So the Aftershock goes out here so they can't hide. The fast lane goes out, and Forsaken starts sprinting. This simply puts pressure if there was to be an attack over on the north side. What this actually ends up doing, because he even shoots out the relay bolt, right? So Forsaken just shoots out the relay bolt. He hasn't really seen any other surefire reason to contest here. DRX hasn't really thrown any of their abilities out. But the relay bolt actually baits out the Rolling Thunder, right? DRX is like, oh shoot, they're trying to counter us here in Arcade. I mean, that's just the cherry on top, though, because at the end of the day, they've already taken control of sewers, and as Forsaken goes into sewers, and he's cleared that out, he's currently watching back towards Arcade, we have Mind Freak and Jing bouncing out of Tree to keep control of the south side of the map. What they're going to find out, they smoke that out, and they say, okay, Forsaken, because DRX has already made their ways through Arcade, Forsaken's now going to cover our backs, and we will go back to help cover site with something. This simple maneuver draws out the enemy's ultimate, the Rolling Thunder, which is absolutely a cherry on top, but this quick idea of we're actually going to erase this entire site, oh, sorry about that, so that we can regain control of crossfires, instead of just north or south side, a little bit of variance to just keep control of the map. So if that previous clip we looked at on Fracture was kind of a classic go, 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 fast hit, commit our utility to put pressure at the beginning of the round, even if it's on defense, right? The type of set plays, the type of plays we expect to see from PRX, we actually see that they've evolved a bit. Okay, there's a little bit of discipline sprinkled here and there for PRX, and we can see it in round 20 on Ascent on map 2. You can already tell right before the round starts. I mean, PRX, they want to get out. They want to get out of mid, all right? They're going to push out. They've got 3 members here. They've got the Harbor, they've got the Sky, and the Reyna. The Reyna and the Sky, we'll take a look at a couple clips later on why they pair so well. And then they're having Mind Freak ready for any sort of pressure from Tree as well. So if we play this out, Jing is he's just set to hold B, right, in case anything happens. Oh, and because I was drawing, I missed it. But basically, we see the early guiding light to check if anyone's on this side. If there was a rush in B main, Jing is just here to hold and really draw out time. Cascade is being pushed out on top of the toxic screen, mind you. That's delaying any pushes on A main, but also covering any angles here from top mid. But the Cascade is being pushed out as well for additional measure. So all 3 members of PRX, now they have full control of the courtyard. Now, toxic screen was used at the very beginning of the round, but this toxic screen could potentially help for retakes as well. Since you already have the Cascade, that's buying a little bit of time at top mid, Forsaken decides to send out his High Tide, and it's going to allow the toxic screen to be lowered while still buying time for any pushes in from A main. Meanwhile, the forces, they start to reposition. A little bit of help to pressure from Tree, just so they don't lose entire control of that, while we do have the Sky and the Harbor continuing to try to creep up. But they say, you know what? Cascade's going to go down. Let's not do that. He gets spotted by the turret even, so he starts to just hide. And they say, we've heard movement. We've heard a lot of stuff going on in A. We haven't heard anything here on the B side. So they want to try to keep Tree control. But PRX, they have a couple choices now, right? Forsaken, he's kind of stranded. Yeah, he could try to go here, but you don't really have any information on attacker spawn. So he's kind of stuck there. You do have Tree control. and you have mid control, right? So while you don't have surefire control of B main, earlier you erased this with Guiding Light. You haven't heard any inklings here from Jing. And then you hold on to this line, right? So you could always go back into heaven if you wanted. But if you want to go into heaven, you could try to send one person and maybe, maybe they try to get a peek out. But then you would still need to leave someone here in tree. But if Mind Freak went too early, then the Reyna would be alone, and then the Sky would have to help the Reyna, and then Forsaken would be alone. So basically what PRX decides to do is, okay, let's just check for tree control and then slowly creep back into sight. Right? So something creeps into sight, trusting the high tide. Let's use that timing as much as possible. Mind Freak's still watching the entrance to trade if need be. Forsaken has come out to Cat to assist, Devi has come out to Cat to assist Forsaken so they can relocate. And now they hear the lockdown being used. So PRX has an opportunity here to push out. But instead of saying, yo, let's go for the pinch and let's like push out and go here on the flank as well and just fight and get rid of the lockdown, which maybe old PRX we might have expected to do, they just wait. They just wait, and Forsaken actually gets a kill right as the toxic screen's coming up. So Forsaken positions himself because he reads that, okay, with this lockdown, what information can DRX get? Because we already have something in the site, right? So we'll know if DRX decides to push into sight off of this lockdown. So the other information they can get is they're trying to push us out of tree, and they could try to regain control of mid this way because they know that we potentially pushed out. So Forsaken positions himself. He even uses the Reckoning to push them back. And this has forced them all the way back. It's allowed to save Forsaken. It keeps mid control. Meanwhile, a little bonus clip. Nice Lear here after the initial entry. And then Mind Freak's already on heaven to go ahead and trade for that as well. And that is a quick round from PRX. Here's another follow-up clip in the very next round. In fact, 2 rounds after. Sorry, excuse me on that. From PRX, where what we see is Pit used initially over on B. And what I like about this is this actually kind of goes to show that PRX understands that they don't like to just play spread out default, right? They like to command what parts of the map they can work with. They like to always be the ones putting on the pressure. So let's play it out. We've got Jing over on A site. You've got 2 members, the Sky and Reyna. They're always paired together, right? So that they can flash and leer off of each other. They're going in to see if there's any pressure over here because the pit was used. They didn't have any initial control on mid. And while the Cascade's going out, you see that the 0 point was used. So Forsaken cannot fully get control. So this duo, they're seeing, okay, we haven't been checking for mid control. So maybe there is a force coming in through Cat. Because of the 0 point, Forsaken can't stop the Cascade, so it stops at the arches. But he says, okay, I've checked. No one has pushed in off of that 0 point initially. But we already gave up mid control early, right? So instead of just standing here and like trying to push up and getting stuck on an island on my own as a non-jet, I'm going to come and regroup. Cascade theoretically should be buying us time. PRX does this a lot. They work off of assumptions a decent amount. But the reason I think their assumptions are okay is, again, exactly what I want to highlight here is that they're proactive off of their assumptions. They don't just assume and say, hey, let's just wait. We've got time, right? They say, okay, assuming this is bought time, how do we make sure we get an advantage off of it? So they're watching. They don't find any contact initially. And the call is made. Okay, Forsaken's here watching. We hear the drone in mid, right? So Mind Freak's starting to reposition for any sort of main control. And Forsaken says, okay, I'm continuing to watch from Cat. We're going to use a lot of our utility, dogs used already, to go out into main. That plants something. Something wants to play it safe. Guiding Light and Lear combo. Guiding Light was just popped, and then the Lear on the ground as well to push out of a main. And as they do this, Forsaken says, okay, now I'm going to go back and watch for mid control. Because we still haven't seen anyone pushing out of tree. Jing is now helping pressure over on main. If they come into tree, I can still hold main. We can hold... I can still hold our spawn in mid. We can still hold a main. Mind Freak can come support from mid as well. We still have a good pinch. And then they immediately use the Seekers, because what this allows him to do is we've taken main control. We're watching here. I need to know, is the main force here or are they coming from here, right? I mean, sure, maybe they could be here as well. this just really allows them to say, do we continue pushing out, or maybe do we stop? And it allows PRX to make this proactive choice, and they say, okay, there's only one here. Let's make sure that we can continue to pressure him, but we know the main forces are on this side, so high tide's being used to buy time over, to stop them from easily getting into heaven. Jing is watching to see if he can disrupt any sort of entry in from tree. He even uses the paint shells and the boom bot, and an unfortunate thing happens here where DRX assumes that they have sprayed down the smoke enough, and Forsaken will get a double kill. That double kill helps a lot, but the idea being, as long as Forsaken didn't die, even if someone was watching, if Forsaken can even just get one kill, that gives time for the main forces to return from a main, right? And they all return. They don't say, well, there was still that one guy, let's just watch out. They say, no, we're going to push back in and take control of this, because if there's only one guy, if we kill everyone on site, then we can pay attention back to a main again. The next series of clips we're going to take a look at are going to look at very specific abilities. So namely the Cove for Harbor, and then the Reyna pick, the Leers, the Dismisses, things like that, and how it pairs so well with Sky. The Reyna part, there's been a lot of videos going around. I've made a short one prior as well on Scoped In. So if you've taken a look at any of those, you get the basic idea, but we'll look at the actual execution and the theory behind it. That's for later, though. That's the highlight of current PRX. But right now I want to look at the Harbor first, and specifically I want to look at Cove. Let's talk a little bit about Cove, and then we'll just rapidly go through a couple of these examples. Cove is a type of smoke that has a shielding element, right? And has a set amount of health that it can block bullets, right? Because of that, the very initial uses discovered for Cove was we can use it to stick plants and defuses, especially in pistol rounds, right? It takes quite a few bullets in a pistol round, so we can use that to really go and stick it. Back then, Icebox was still in the map pool. Harbor was starting to get used a lot on Icebox, things like that. So that's a common way. However, during rifle rounds, it gets taken out pretty easily. So if you try to use it for the plant or defuse, what you're often doing is you're using it to really assist in selling the fake, right? That helps draw out enemy fire, maybe get their location. It helps draw out potential mollies that are trying to disrupt the plant or the defuse, things like that. But that also kind of becomes a known value trade, right? And it's not that it's a bad thing if you're trading that for, one or two mollies. Two mollies, and great. Credit-wise, you even out or maybe come out on top. But instead of that, what PRX often does, and specifically Forsaken when he's playing that Harbor, is they'll use that shielding element to just buy themselves, like, 1 extra second, half an extra second, to gain a little bit more ground, to gain a little bit more information, or to erase one angle as they're going for a quick duel. So the first example we're going to see here is on Bind. It's round 3, PRX going for the retake. Forsaken is trying to assist from Hookah. They have control of Elbow. They have control of Defender Spawn. Now, Mind Freak has already put down one of his smokes. They use the smoke a lot on these retakes. Just cut up the map a little bit, maybe even keep someone alive if they're still in the site. And now they're going to try to start to peek out from these angles, eventually all 3. Look at how Forsaken uses it. He's going to use his Cove to shield himself from the left side so he can jump out of window, right? There's 2 things that this Cove does. As it pops, we saw him jumping and looking, but as it pops, he's going to see is there anyone, right, hiding here in this little cubby right outside of Garden. And if there is, unless they're really perfect on their trigger, the Cove should activate right away and allow him to survive, right? So he's gained information and he survived. The other thing it does is as he jumps down, the attackers, the opponents, don't have clear information of is he hiding within the Cove or is he behind it, right? So you don't have really clear information of that. There's another layer to this. Forsaken's going to go in. He's going to try to creep into the smoke. He gets taken out by Zest. During this, Devi has taken out Stacks. And what we're going to see Zest do is he's going to try to pop out of the Brimstone smoke to trade. But because the Cove hasn't been taken out, he actually doesn't have a great angle. He probably has a very small one in between the 2 smokes. And Devi is able to get out scot-free. He digs deeper into the site, and get another kill and activate his Seekers afterwards. It just creates this entire momentum. And Devi is actually just going to go ahead and clear the site, go for the ace, right? He actually ends up getting this ace, which is quite insane. He even dodges the orbital strike, and then he goes for the ace. Now, obviously, the round win, it's off the back of an incredible amount of plays from Devi, but the Cove kind of helps start a lot of that. Let's take a look at another round. It doesn't get caught on camera instantly, but what we're going to see here is they're going to go for a fast hit on B, right? So they send the cascade out to basically erase any, vision coming in from here or defender spawn. They use the Reckoning to basically push anyone out from these areas and make sure that they can't just hang out here on the stairs. It helps push out a little bit of market as well. And during all of this, because they only put up the cascade, and how many kills have we seen where defenders just spam through, right, and get a couple kills as people are trying to jump in? What Forsaken's going to do is use the Cove to secure entry into the little alleyway here into B site. Right, so they're getting ready, and what you're going to see here is this smoke on screen right here, right? This is the poison cloud used by Mind Freak, so the only thing left that this smoke could be is going to be the Cove that was just used. So by using this Cove, they can jump into the Cove and get out to here safely with someone not being able to just get headshots through the smoke. Again, a clever way to kind of counter one of the parts that seem essential in this current meta. Take another look at Forsaken using the Cove. All right, this one, a couple extra layers. And this one, here's the thing, is that you can use smokes in the very same positions, and they'll provide some value. But the thing is if you're getting spammed, you will die, right? So the Cove just gets rid of that aspect where you cannot get spammed for information. So Forsaken is prepped on Heaven. It's a 3v2 retake. Jing actually gets an excellent kill right before the smokes reset. And they're trying to figure out exactly where they're coming from. Now, as the smokes go away, we're going to see Forsaken already has this Cove put up. All right, and Stacks he's waiting. He knows that there's someone trying to come from Heaven. But the thing is the way the Cove is set up, you could be jumping out of here. You could drop down and peek out this way. You could jump down and go behind the boxes. And you cannot spam to see, right? You can't spam here to see if he's already dropped or not because of the shield. So you have to kind of wait to see if he peeks out. And as Stacks is just trying to figure out where he's coming from, Forsaken drops down and peeks out right away and gets the kill. Again, you could do it with the smoke, but the Cove just adds a little bit more safety. Now we're going to take a look at a selection of clips that showcase, again, the Leer, but specifically the Leer and Sky combo. Sometimes it's the Guiding Light, sometimes it's the Trailblazer, sometimes it's the Boombot on top of that. But again, the way they synergize. And there's a little extra Cove Easter egg here as well, if we want to call it that. But right off the bat, we're going to see Leer being used and then Guiding Light sent out as well. Here's the reason this is good. The Guiding Light, you're often trained to either anti-flash by turning away, either hide from, or try to push out in front of it so you only get half flashed. But the problem is if the Leer comes out at the same time or right before or right after, you either have to just empty that entire area, or you've got to have like 2 or 3 people, one just dedicated to always shooting the Leer, right? As the others try to anti-flash. And PRX, they use this in very different ways. It's not even always the same timing. It's not always the same order. It's not always the same distance. They just have really good awareness. And some things Leers are generally pretty good as well. There's a couple times where maybe it's just kind of thrown out in the heat of the moment and it doesn't really serve its purpose. But what we'll see right now is right off the start of the round. He throws the Leer so it... Ooh, sorry for that color here. But if we zoom in on the minimap, the Leer is right across the wall and deep enough where just trying to shoot it, you would not get an accidental headshot kill. As that's going on, the Guiding Light flies through as well. And because of the Leer, and because someone could have already swung out and they didn't shoot it right away, DRX is backing out. But because the Leer did not get shot, this Guiding Light will continue to fly. And it will push even deeper, and it pops here. And so now you know, okay, this still wasn't cleared, so because of that, Jing is safe to peek out even if this one way's coming out, even if they've been 0-pointed, it does not matter. Jing has this Leer to cover for him, and then as this gets pinged, at the very least, you know, they're not crossing this line, right? They're not crossing this line. Well, I guess kind of this line, because you haven't really seen them peeking your cross either. And so it lets them gain that space. They will actually eventually be able to just stick the orb here as well. And then we got to wait a little bit. But I want to showcase a little bit of extra really great double kill from Buzz here. Let's just watch that. I want to get a little bit of an extra clip on the Cove once again. I mean, this is one of those things where PRX, they're not saving for the most ideal scenarios. They're just saving to continue to snowball, to continue to keep that advantage. So what we see is the door has been shut, and Zest was spamming it. So if we pause right here, the door has been turned red, right? So it's about to break. And Forsaken wants to allow not only the spike to cross, but maybe for himself to reposition as well. So instead of just risking the door potentially being broken and being spammed out, he's going to throw the Cove out, and it provides an extra layer of a shield. That allows him to hide and reposition and maybe make it tricky so that even if the door breaks, they would have to come into the Cove first. It allows Divide to get through without any risk of being spammed. It's just a surefire way to keep up the momentum. On top of that, I mean, they have 3 people, right? So the Cove alone, like trying to save it for the ideal scenario. No, let's just keep the snowball going. This one's a very simple way to look at just how much they value kind of the chaining of these abilities. So even at the cost of a team flash. So this will just go to show you why they always pair Divide and something together with the Sky and the Reyna. So this is a pistol round in the second half. PRX is on defense. And these two are often set up here at Pizza. Now what we see right away is as they see the recon bolts coming out, they say, okay, let's just break that. We're going to hide out here. Our toxic screen is helping cover top mid. And something tries to peek out, gets instant sight of someone, and the 0 point's coming out. So he immediately preps his Leer, and he's going to throw it. The 0 point does get broken, but he throws the Leer out, and he tries to swing off of it. Because he knows someone was already walking out of the archers there, or off of B, he's going to swing off of the Leer, and then immediately, as he swings out, the Leer not broken, so they trust that he can get a kill. But in the case that there are more that try to break the Leer, Divide just says, something, you've done well, you've done your job, let me help you. And he just pop flashes so that they can both swing out and relocate. But this is the value, right? Because you know there's either a timing here where they're going to try to swing out or turn back around and kill the Leer, or even if we're team flashed, we're safe because they'll be flashed and Leered as well. So he uses the Leer into the guiding light. This time it was a pop flash, but other times they send it deep because the Leer's not broken. But it just, again, buys that extra time. It gives you confirmed information of who is or is not looking at you. It's time for the grand finale, and we get to take a look at the entire kit of Reyna. Something that is so rarely seen in pro play, just because she's not even selected that often. But literal full usage value of Reyna in this round, okay? She's got everything ready. She only has 1 Leer left, but she's got a Leer. She's got Empress. She's got both instances of her Devour or Dismiss. All right, let's just play it out. I'm just going to talk about, we're not going to draw the minimap. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. Oh, one thing I do want to mention, though, before we start, is this Trailblazer. So it's already down to 50 seconds. What happened at the beginning of this round is PRX had pushed out on a pinch, right? So they pushed out with Reckoning being used to force everyone out. Then they just went into Sands because they were blocked off. And so they go into Fountain, rather, not Sands, sorry. They go into Fountain, and they kind of regain control of B main. They say, okay, there was no one here. And then they say, okay, let's reset, which that also, again, shows a good evolution. They're not like, hey, go, 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 Reckoning was used, let's just get them all. They say, okay, all right, we pushed them off, let's regroup. Now it's at 50 seconds. They hear the smokes coming down. And what we're going to see is Divide is going to use this Trailblazer to simply slow down the entry. They have 2 people here in Hookah. Something has his Empress. And the idea here is if I slow down the entry, something can either relocate into sight, excuse me, or if I get the second line of entry, something can dual buzz, right? So Divide he just left clicks right off the bat, and it pops. So it stuns Buzz, and it slows down his teammates from coming in. So Divide, literally, he left clicks out of the smoke just to stall them because of the smoke, because something cannot peek out instantly. So off of that timing, something's going to Leer, and he pops out with Empress activated. And he's ready to go. He's going to get 1 kill, and then he dismisses out. He's hiding, They don't know where he is. He peeks out. He dismisses again. He hides in his teammate's smoke. Buzz still cannot find him. He gets a third kill. And chaos is completed. All right, let's just break this down turn by turn, just because it's actually really impressive how this works out. So something leers. He realizes, okay, Buzz is not peeking out. And then he turns because not only is the Leer not popped, so it's going to cover him if Buzz tries to swing out far from his own Cloudburst, but there's no one able to cover for him, and he says, well, my job here is just to create chaos. He gets one kill. He has faith that he's going to be able to dismiss out. He dismisses out right as RB tries to come back against him. He could have tried to hold, but by that point, his Leer is dead as well, so Buzz could very well, like he knows it's a 2v1, so he dismisses out. But instead of going out into backside, he goes into tube, and here's the problem for DRX. Because it's Empress, they can't see him, so he could either have gone into cubby, he could have gone backside, he could have gone into tube. I mean, he could have come out forward towards garden. They have no idea. Meanwhile, during this, they can't only look for him because maybe more people are going to pop out of the smokes, right? They saw the Trailblazer coming earlier. So Buzz, he goes for the guess, and he says, okay, I'll make sure I cover backside. Meanwhile, RB, he has too many angles to check, so he's just waiting to see if he hears the boom bot, so he's checking for Jing. RB gets Jing, but something pokes out again, gets the kill, and Buzz is like, shoot, he's not backside. He got an extra kill. And then something immediately dismisses because he wants to know, are you guys still flooding in the site, or have you not come in? Off of that, he realizes we don't have information on Buzz, so he's trying to check for it. But then he hears the smoke that's always been used by Mind Freak coming down, so he hides back into it. And I believe Buzz catches a glimpse of him because of the effect. So he tries to spam him, but something says, peace out. I'm going to peek out again because I know you guys were not prepared here. My teammate has already arrived to help from Hookah. Devi is helping out. Right, so we've got help coming in from the window. We've got help coming in from elbow. Peeks out, gets another kill, and then he dismisses again because he heard the gunfire from Buzz. He says, okay, let me just reposition again, and he jumps out on top, and he knows he's not back sight, so they know he has to be in the smoke. I mean, it's as if it was scripted. It's so good. Before we wrap up our outro, I do want to say, yes, with Reyna, you do need to get kills to provide full value. That's always true. So she is still a bit of a feast or famine, right? But they figured out a way where the Leers will always provide value. It will always provide value, right? They're sometimes using it just to see if someone shoots it down, just to gain intel. Sometimes they're using it to help set up the guiding light. Sometimes they're using it off of the guiding light. Like they figured out a way where the Leers will always provide value, which now increases your chances of the Reyna getting kills. The other thing it does is it allows something to just focus on fragging out. After the initial Leer, he can just focus on fragging out. They use it in these ways where Jing on the Raze will be the one who's creating space. So instead of having to focus on his movement, something can now just play deathmatch. And this, again, increases the chances of him getting kills. Yes, you still want to get kills to really provide full value. That much is true. So it's always hard to say, like, should every team be using Reyna? Is she going to become, like, full meta? No, I don't think so, right? Not every team plays that way. Not every team wants to always go for these duels. So it doesn't suit everyone. But it's not exactly a troll pick. They figured out a way to really increase those chances where it's not a complete Hail Mary, high-risk, high-reward pick anymore. So again, I think that just goes to prove that PRX have figured out their own style in the current meta. They figured out how to use Harbor to their own needs in the current meta. Same thing with Viper, same thing with Sky, same thing with Phoenix. Again, just always kind of using those utility to continue to gain space, continue to win duels, so they continue to snowball forward. And this is somewhat similar to the strengths I think T1 has. Different tempo and style and compositions, but same idea, right? Let's snowball when we can, which I think is a very important winning mindset here in Valorant. Well, those are the moments, those are the moments I've selected here for PRX. There's plenty more to break down. But I think the exciting part is they're showing new things. They're showing new understandings in the map. They're showing new compositions. They also have a new roster. It's very It's very easy to get excited for PRX, and the fashion they won as well. Obviously, great showmanship. We'll have to wait to see if something will be able to arrive in Tokyo in time to be able to play in their first matches. Of course, they are starting in the playoff bracket in the round of 8. So, fingers crossed, see if that happens. But if not, they will have to play with a sub, so we'll see how that goes. But all in all, even if not at Masters Tokyo, I think very exciting prospects here for PRX now in this new iteration, which I fully think it's not a 2.1, it's not a 2.5, it is a 3.0 version of WGaming that PRX has perfected. Honestly, all 3 teams very exciting to look forward to here at Masters Tokyo. DRX probably the least I'm excited about specifically, just because not much new stuff. Still a very strong team. And clearly, I mean, if they're playing 2 full best-of-5s back-to-back days, clearly they're very strong. So no doubt about that. But I think Pacific has a good chance of having a strong showing. I think overall, Masters Tokyo should be a very exciting tournament to watch. If you guys enjoyed this episode of Scoped In, please make sure you like the video. Leave a comment down below as well. You know, whether it's just cheering for PRX. Maybe let me know which of these 3 teams, PRX, T1, or PRX, DRX, or T1. Sorry, I didn't want to put it in that order. PRX, DRX, or T1 that you're most excited for. Let me know down in the comments below. And let's all look forward to Masters Tokyo. And we'll be taking a look at Masters Tokyo matches in the next episode of Scoped In. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.